Liz Franklin, Senior Manager of Community-Based Mental Health Services at CLUES. Today, we're going to talk about learning styles and how we can use this information to be more successful during distance learning. So first, when I say learning styles, what do I mean by that? What am I trying to say? So learning styles is one way of describing people's preferences for how they hear information or how they process or work with information as they're learning things. It doesn't mean that there's only one way that we can learn things, but it's how we tend to prefer to learn if everything else is equal. One of the things that's really interesting about learning styles is that each of these ways of bringing in information and working with information activates a different part of our brain. So we can get more of our brain working on learning something by mixing different strategies that get different parts of our brain working at the same time. It's also important to remember that whatever our learning style is, it's also going to matter what we're trying to learn. So I may be somebody that really strongly prefers to learn by reading or writing information, but if I'm trying to learn how to play soccer, I just need to play soccer sometimes. I can read about the rules, I can read about strategies, but my body also just needs to do the experience of playing soccer to understand it the best. There are all kinds of ways that people describe learning styles or organize this information. We're going to look at these 4 styles today because they're some of the easiest to connect to distance learning work. So the first style is visual. So people who are visual learners like to learn by seeing things. And that can be by watching people do something, by like watching them give you an example of how to do something, or it can be by seeing like tables, pictures, graphs, things that create a picture to help us capture and process things. So if you think you're a visual learner, things that you can try doing are to make pictures or graphs or like tables for yourself to organize information, or you can try taking notes and then color coding your notes to make the information feel more organized and make more sense. If you have to spell something, it might be easier, instead of just reciting it from memory, to let yourself write the word and say the letters while you're trying to spell it for the other person. If you don't have paper or you don't feel like you're in a situation where you can actually draw or write, it can still be really helpful to visualize or to imagine the picture in your mind, or to imagine writing the word out for yourself. The next style that we're going to talk about is auditory. So people who are auditory learners really learn best by hearing. So they're going to pay a lot of attention to what teachers say during lessons, and they're going to pay a lot of attention to things like music or the rhythm of language. So they can use strategies like making up songs to help themselves memorize things. Reading information out loud to themselves can be really helpful, especially if it's more complicated information. They can also do things like just tapping a beat as they're trying to learn different things that they have to memorize. There's all kinds of ways that you can get the information said to yourself or heard, as well as written on the page in front of you. So verbal learners are people that really like to learn by reading and writing. And so for them, when they take notes during class, writing the information out for themselves sometimes helps as much or even more than reading their notes afterwards. And so if you're a verbal learner, the more that you can find written instructions or written descriptions of the information that you're trying to learn, or the way that you can write it out for yourself and repeat the writing out, that will really help you memorize things or just learn new content and process it more. The last style that we're going to talk about is kinesthetic. So people who are kinesthetic learners like to learn by touching and by doing. It's really hard for them to just sit and watch or just sit and read and learn things. They need to find ways to get their bodies involved. So for younger kids especially, it might be in really clear ways, like using blocks with letters to spell words, or using counters to help them understand addition and subtraction and how numbers and like groups of numbers work. It could be things like as you learn a process, like having your body actually move while you're thinking about moving through the steps of the process. So if I have to remember that first I do this and then I do that and then finally I can do the third step, it might help me stand up and actually take a step with my body as I think about or imagine each step. If I can't be quite that active wherever I am, it still could help to draw something or to make a visual for myself, because I'm still getting my body more involved in the activity by the act of drawing it and by being able to kind of manipulate parts of the information on the page. People who are kinesthetic learners might also really benefit from playing around with what they can do on the device that they're using for school. So if it helps you like grab and drag words around or grab and drag like parts of a picture or things to help yourself learn, that's still a way of getting your body involved and but like literally touching some of the information that you're trying to capture. Well, this is really interesting, but so what do I do with this, Liz? Well, it depends. If you're trying to help somebody else learn because they're your child or they're a younger sibling, one of the things that's really important to do next is to start really paying attention and talking with them sometimes about how they prefer to learn. Does it help you the most if I show you or if I tell you or if I do it with you? It's also important to think about how we prefer to learn, because we're going to teach based on the strategies that have helped us learn, but those may not be the strategies that are going to work the best for the person that we're teaching. And it's always a great idea to experiment with different pathways for how we receive and work with information, especially if we're feeling stuck with something. So you can go back through some of the strategies that I gave as examples before. You can also talk to teachers about, I think I'm really a visual learner. Is there a way that you can like make a picture to help me understand this? Or I think I'm more of a verbal learner. Is there a place that I can read more of this information to help me learn it better? If you want to learn more, there's lots of great resources on the internet that can help people understand and even assess their own learning styles more. Some people don't have just one learning style. Some people are multimodal learners, and they're able to learn in more flexible ways where they'll more naturally combine different strategies. But for any of us, whether we have one or two really strong preferences or can work really flexibly across the learning styles, the more we can pay attention to the way somebody's trying to teach us information and think about, are there other ways that I can like get this information that add to it? It's going to help us learn it and retain it more. So thank you for watching. I hope you found something helpful in this, and good luck.